Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Great to have you with us. Give us your sense about these cyber attacks. It seems like they're happening more and more frequently. Do you think that's right, or are we just finding out about them more?
No, I think we're seeing an increase in these attacks. And the concern I have is that this is not just criminal organizations, obviously, going after ransoms and going after our vital infrastructure. It also, frankly, raises some real national security concerns because it shows how vulnerable our vital infrastructure is in this country. And that raises the concern about whether or not we have the proper defenses and offenses to deal with these kinds of attacks.
So let's take it in that order. Defense first, and let's go to offense afterwards. Defense, do you have a sense of what we need? Because one of the things that I've heard from some experts in the area is it's not just the big companies, not just the federal government, the big organizations, but it's also the smaller ones, state and local government, as well as smaller and medium-sized corporations. How do you shore up the defenses on all of those?
David, I think the biggest problem right now is that this is all pretty much a hit and miss operation. Everybody's operating on their own. Everybody's operating within their own silos. And what we don't have is a comprehensive cyber strategy for the country in which the country, working with local government, working with private business, working with state governments as well, is developing some kind of comprehensive approach to providing the defenses we need in order to deal with these attacks. If we just continue to basically allow people to operate on their own, and right now, obviously, with these ransomware attacks, what we're doing is having these companies, Colonial Pipeline, a good example, JBS, another example, if they pay off these ransoms, what they do is they send a signal to these criminal organizations to continue to do what they're doing. And that, I think, is dangerous for the country.
So you know the Biden administration well. You said we don't have a comprehensive plan. Do we have the people and the will to get there, and how long will it take?
Well, I think there is the will to do it. I think we really do need to focus on this as a real threat to our national security. This is not just an issue related to our economy, it's related to our national security. You can't allow our vital infrastructure here to be attacked the way it is and not have an impact, not just on our economy, but on our national security. So I think it really is important for the Biden administration to pull together the right people. There are several things that need to be done, as I said. One is a comprehensive plan dealing with protecting our country on cyber attacks. Two, we need a much better and closer working partnership between the private sector and the public sector. Right now, as I said, everybody's operating on their own. The private sector is trying to do this. Some do a good job, some don't. What we really need is to have a better partnership in that area. And thirdly, frankly, we need to invest to be on the cutting edge of technology here and to have some of the best and brightest people working on this area, because this is going to continue to develop as an area that I believe is the battlefield of the future.
How far can we make it on our own as the United States? I mean, we're mindful of the fact that President Biden is about to go to the G7 meetings over in Cornwall. Is there a role for international cooperation, agreements? Can we work with others on this? And does that make it better?
Well, we should be. I relate this to our concern about nuclear weapons because what we did eventually is try to sit down and develop some kind of rational policy to try to contain the development of nuclear weapons. We've got to do the same thing when it comes to cyber. I mean, cyber is essentially becoming the weapon of choice for the future. You don't need to send fighter planes. You don't need to send bombers. All you have to do is sit at a computer and deploy a sophisticated virus that can virtually paralyze our country. And because of that threat, I think it's absolutely critical that we try to work with the rest of the world in trying to develop standards for how we approach cyber attacks and what we do in a unified way to try to bring some order and rationality to what right now is chaos.
Secretary Panetta, we've been talking about defense. Let's go over to the offense side that you mentioned as well. After the G7, President Biden's going to be traveling to Switzerland to meet with President Putin. We heard from the White House yesterday that he's going to raise this issue in no uncertain terms with President Putin. It's no coincidence, it strikes me, that almost every one of these seems to have originated in Russia. Maybe not with the Russian government directly, but certainly originating in Russia. What can President Biden say to President Putin in Switzerland that might make a difference?
Well, I think it's very important for the president to enter that meeting from a position of strength. I think he's got to make very clear that there are lines that cannot be crossed by the Russians. Putin has never really picked that up from the United States in the last few years. He senses weakness on the part of the United States. That's why he went into the Crimea. That's why he went into Ukraine. That's why he went into Syria. That's why he attacked us on our election institutions, is because he felt that we were vulnerable and that we would not respond. I think President Biden has to make very clear that there are lines here that the Russians cannot cross, or they will pay a price. He's got to be very firm, because Putin only understands strong talk. If this is just words, diplomatic words going back and forth, then Putin will not react to that, and he'll continue to do what he's doing.
Strong talk, but you know so well, you've been in the room. It doesn't make sense to have strong talk unless you're willing to back it up. When President Putin says, oh, yeah, so what do you do if I don't? What's the response? Is there any credible retaliatory action that we could take?
Well, frankly, there is. I mean, we're not just people that have developed the technology of defenses. We've also developed the technology of offenses. And I think, very frankly, we have to make clear that if he continues to do the things he's doing in encouraging these cyber attacks, and make no mistake about it, these criminal organizations are operating under the cover of the Russian government. And they're basically doing what the Russian government supports, which is to undermine the United States of America. I think they need to understand that if they continue to do this, that they are going to have to pay a price as well.
Is that price a cyber price with cyber attacks, or is it kind of extended to the real world?
I think the president doesn't have to go into specifics. I think he can basically say to them, you continue to do this, you will pay a price, period. That's the message that needs to be sent. And then if it does happen again, it needs to be made clear that we have the capability to do that.